Today is the fall equinox. We are moving from summer to fall, just getting right through 2020 here, moving into fall. Albert Camus said, autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower. So I think autumn is beautiful, and this second spring where every leaf is a flower just makes me think that so much of how we view things is about our perspective and how we choose to look at things. So, you know, you could look at the fall, the autumn as, well, this is when things are dying and those leaves are turning colors and falling off the trees because they're dying. Or you could look at it as second spring, new opportunity to turn a page, new opportunity to see the changes that are happening as something that's beautiful, the leaves as flowers, perhaps. So today we'll work on our perspective. We'll be going back and forth between forward bending and back bending. There will be more forward bending than back bending, but we'll have some of both. And just notice how when you go back and forth between that forward bending, which is about more turning in, and the back bending, which is about more turning out, sending energy out, how that feels for you. Find your comfortable seat and close your eyes. So try to get your spine right in that middle place between forward bending and back bending. And you might, most of us have a tendency when we're sitting on the floor to forward lean a little bit. So maybe even overcorrect by leaning back and then coming into just in the middle between the two. Take a moment here to connect with your breath and connect with your body. In yoga, we try to connect mind and body and heart with the thread of the breath. So start that practice here. And then turn your hands up and bring them together at your heart. Let's commit to a practice that allows us to have a perspective where we can see the good in what is happening. That doesn't mean that we never acknowledge the bad, because if we never acknowledge it, then nothing ever changes for the better. But in any situation, whether it's spring or fall, we can turn our perspective to a way to see the gift, to see the beauty, to maybe see that the leaves look like beautiful flowers. On your exhale, bow your head towards your heart and towards your commitment to this practice of perspective. And then release your hands down. As you inhale, sit taller again. If you've found that you've leaned forward some, lift your head up and then lift your eyes open. All right, friends, let's get into a child's pose on our mats. If you're playing music, now's the time to start the music. In 3, 2, 1, press play. And then find your child's pose. So this child's pose is a really grounding pose. Linda and I were talking as we first got onto the Zoom that fall is a windy, light season. So sometimes those of us who have a tendency to be light and airy need a little extra grounding. Child's pose is a good one for that. It's also a forward bend. In your child's pose, stretch your arms out in front. Lift your head up just a little bit. Take a big inhale through your nose. And then let that breath go as you sink down into the floor a little bit more. Seal your lips and breathe in and out of your nose here. And just feel where the breath goes in your body. See if you can feel it in the unusual places, your back, maybe pelvic floor, side waists. And then lift your forehead up a little bit. Lift your palms up, keep the fingers on the ground, and start to stretch those fingers a little farther forward. Lengthening out through the sides, through the spine. And then on your next exhale, come up to all fours. Rearrange until you get your wrists underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. We'll take 3 rounds of cat and cow. So on your exhale, take cat pose, let all that breath out, forward bending. On your inhale, cow pose, deep breath in, a little bit of a back bend here. 2 more rounds on your own. Moving at the pace of your breath. Just noticing how forward bend and back bend feels. And then come into neutral spine. So we're gonna wag our tails a little bit. So take your hips over to the right and draw your right shoulder towards your right hip. So you're shortening in the right side, lengthening through the left. Inhale to center, go to the second side, shorten on the left side, lengthen on the right. Come to the middle, and then just go back and forth a few times. Think about shifting your hips side to side as you shorten the side that you shift to. Yeah, you got it. It's not complicated. After your next hip shift over to the left, come to the center. So we're going to do that same sort of thing, but up the ante. We're going to keep the hands where they are. We're going to float the knees just right off the mat, about 1 inch off the mat. So tuck your toes under, lift those knees up. Take your hips way over to the right, so that's kind of a twist. Knees and toes will point to the left. Inhale to the center, floating the knees. Exhale, hips to the left. Inhale, center, and then just keep going back and forth. A little bit of twisting, a lot of side lengthening. One more time for the hips to go right, and one more time for the hips to go left. Come to neutral, lower the knees down. Walk your hands back until you're standing on your knees. Take your arms up overhead, look up overhead, make 2 fists and roll your wrists around one direction. And then roll in the other direction. And then bring your hands to your hips. Just the slightest back bend here. Draw your shoulders back, take your gaze up, make sure your core is engaged. And then exhale, hands back down to the mat. Downward facing dog, tuck your toes under, lift your hips. Once you've gotten into downward dog, take a deep inhale through your nose. Exhale softly through your mouth. Widen your feet apart a little bit and then walk them about 3 or 4 inches closer. We're going to take a twist in this short downward dog. So take your right hand to your left ankle. If you need to be higher on your leg, you can be, or you can walk your feet in a little bit closer and then twist. Look under your left arm towards the ceiling, changing your perspective as you look up in this forward bend. And then inhale, release. Place your right hand back on the mat. Second side, left hand grabs the right leg. Breath in and then exhale, twist around. Maybe looking up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, release. Place your hand back down. Continue walking your feet to the top of your mat. Place your feet about hip width distance apart. Fan your toes out wide. Try not to grip in your toes. If you notice that in certain poses your toes are really gripping and they're turning white, try to relax that a little bit. The toes do serve a purpose in almost all the standing poses, but try to let them soften a little bit, especially here where you don't really need to balance at all. Let your head hang down. Take your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. If you want, put a little bend into those knees. And then start to bring your hands away from your back. Deeper forward bend here. Looking within. And then bring your hands back to your low back. Put a little bend into those knees. And as you inhale, rise up to stand. Release your hands, sweep your arms out wide, lift them up overhead. See if your fingertips will touch here without you looking at them. So mine didn't. When I brought my hands up, my hands sort of did this. See if you can get those fingertips to touch. We're going to do this several more times throughout the practice. So I've been talking about this idea of proprioception, just learning where your body is in space. So we'll keep working on that. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart. We're going to take tree pose right here. Moving into fall, it's all about the trees, or the leaves on the trees anyway. Stand on your right foot. So in any standing balance, I like to have a tiny bend in my standing leg. That makes the muscles above and below the standing leg work. Often when we lock the knee out, we let the muscles relax. You can play around with that and see how it works for you. So tree pose on the right leg. I put a tiny bend into my right knee, put my weight into my right foot. First option is to connect the ball of your left foot to the ground and your left heel to your right ankle. Second option is to pull the sole of your foot to your inner calf. Third option is to slide that foot up to your inner thigh and squeeze in here. Foot squeezing into thigh. Think about the inner thigh or inner calf muscle squeezing back into the foot. This is a sneaky way of doing a little core work here. Inhale, lift your branches up overhead. On your exhale, take your arms out to the sides. Okay, we're gonna take the arms back up overhead, trying to get the fingertips to touch, thumb to thumb, index to index. Oh, I was closer that time. Exhale, hands to your heart. One breath in, release your hands, release your foot. Second side, stand on the left leg, tiny bend into the left knee. Engage in the core. It's going to help so much with your balance. Turn the right knee out to the side. You can have your foot as low or as high as it works for you. I just try to never push my foot into my inner knee because you really want the foot to squeeze into the middle, and your knee is not supposed to bend out to the side like that. Hands to your heart. Keep that core engagement. Inhale, take your arms up overhead, lifting the branches up. And then as you exhale, separate the hands, take the arms out to the sides. Let your leaves fall from your branches. And then inhale, lift back up. Without looking, see if those fingertips will touch one another. And then exhale, hands to your heart. One more breath in here. Release your foot, release your hands down. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up to the sky. Exhale, forward bend, fold down to your mat. Inhale, lengthen out halfway. Let's do that again. Exhale, fold back in. Notice how that feels. Inhale, lengthen out. Notice how that feels for you. Some of us like forward bending, some of us like outward poses more. Now, downward facing dog. Plant your hands, step your feet back. This is a type of forward bend. This is really a hybrid pose. Some people call this an inversion. Some people call it a forward bend. Inhale into plank. Exhale, lower to chaturanga. Inhale, cobra. So back bending here. Just notice what comes up for you, if anything, when you back bend. And then exhale, lower back down. Tuck the toes under. Get the legs strong, get the core strong. We're gonna go to chaturanga first, and then plank, and then downward dog. So try to hold each of those poses for a beat. Take a breath in, a little bit of air out takes you to chaturanga. Full breath out takes you to plank, and then lift the hips back and up, downward facing dog. Look at the top of your mat and plant your right foot at the top of your mat. We'll come up to warrior two here. Turn your palms to face up. So take your gaze out past your front hand for now. That's where your gaze will stay. As you inhale, straighten the front leg. Bring your hands up overhead. Maybe those fingertips touch. Oh, I totally missed. Exhale, lower back down. We're gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale, lift. Feel your energy rise as you lift up. Exhale, lower down. Feel your energy ground. 1 more. Inhale, lift. Touch those fingertips. Exhale, lower back down. Take your back hand around behind your back, and then bring your right forearm to your right thigh. So this is a variation of side angle pose. We'll call it half bound side angle pose. You can take it deeper with both arms. One way to take it deeper with the back arm is to make the half bind a little bit deeper, maybe even working those left fingers into the front of the right thigh. And with the other arm, you can stay right here, so that's your right arm, keep it there, or lower your fingers down to the mat, you decide. Roll your top shoulder back, take your gaze up to the ceiling, and then breathe here. As you inhale, release your left arm, take it up into the air, stretching up, and then exhale, circle it forward and down to the mat, spin the back heel up so you're on the ball of that back foot, put weight into your left hand, twist around to the right, take the right arm up, take your gaze up. You can stay right here or work on some sort of bind with the right hand, maybe bringing the right hand to your hip, to your low back, or working your hand around to the front of the left hip. Rolling open, taking the gaze up, and then inhale, release. Hand down to the mat, 1 leg dog. Take your right leg back and up, lift it high. 1 leg vinyasa. Okay, from downward facing dog, look up at the top of your mat, and then carefully place your left foot right up at the top. Come up to warrior two. Take your gaze out past your front hand. Gaze will stay there for now. Turn the palms up. As you inhale, straighten the front leg, bring the fingertips to touch, maybe. Energy lifts. Exhale, lower down, grounding. Inhale, lifting, rising up. How do you like that? Exhale, lower down, grounding. How do you like this? 1 more time. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. Side angle pose with the half bind. So bring your right arm around behind your back. Left forearm to the left thigh, or left fingers to the ground. You decide how deep you want to get into this pose. Wherever you land, start to turn your gaze up to the sky. Take your head back a little bit. Roll that right shoulder back a little bit more. And then as you inhale, release the right arm up to the sky, stretching up. And then exhale, circle it forward and down to your mat. Frame your front foot with your hands. Lift your back heel up. And then twist around to the left. Left arm to the sky. Lift that left side of your chest to the sky. Maybe take your gaze up, your head back a little. And then do some sort of binding with your top arm, your left arm. Bring it around to your hip, Low back, maybe wrap it around your right front of hip. Inhale, release. Hand down, one leg dog, left leg lifts. Try to get it up high, and then one leg vinyasa, or your type of vinyasa here. Connecting body, mind, heart with the thread of the breath. There you go. From downward facing dog, bring your feet to the top of your mat. Walk them up, step up, hop up, fold over your legs. And then inhale, rise, touch your palms. Exhale, hands to your heart. We'll move into our second flow here. Start with a chair pose. So get low, forward bending, and then add the back bend by keeping the hips low and lifting the heart up and the gaze up. Couple of breaths right here. Since fall is upon us, that means ski season isn't far behind. Just stay here, a couple more breaths. Maybe challenging yourself to get the hips a little bit lower and lifting the heart a little bit higher. One more inhale, and then on your exhale, forward bend with straight legs. Fold down. Inhale, lengthen out halfway. I like that. And then start your vinyasa on your exhale. Stepping back or jumping back. Listening, feeling your breath, letting it connect each pose in the vinyasa. Okay, we're ready now. From downward dog, inhale, lift your right leg high, bend your knee and twist open. Lengthen through that right side. Inhale, stretch your leg back, square your hip up. On your exhale, knee to nose, pull your right knee in and then plant your right foot right up at the top of your mat. Warrior one, root into your back foot, root into the front foot, steady and grounded. And then from there, you can rise up into the stratosphere with your warrior one. It is a back bend, so take a moment to be with that upper back lifting. And then circle your arms back behind you, out and down. Interlace your hands behind. On your exhale, humble warrior. It's a forward bend, so take your head down. When you're ready, bring your hands away from your back. There's more than a forward bend happening in humble warrior. You've also got a delicious hip stretch in there. But just notice how it feels to fold in, to turn in, because we're going to go right back to a back bend. Bring your hands back to your low back, keep them there, and then as you inhale, lift your torso upright. Start to straighten that front leg, tiny bend into the front knee. So we're going to back bend here. It's really important that you engage in the core, especially because you have this left leg extending back. You really need to engage in the core so you don't dump into your low back. Think about strong core and then lifting your chest up and taking your gaze up for your back bend, maybe sliding your hands down that back leg. Inhale, come back upright between back bend and forward bend. Release your hands, circle them out to the sides, lift them up overhead. See if your fingertips will just automatically find one another here. We're getting better, right? Exhale, hands to your heart. Front leg is still straight, hips are square. Bow forward, try to keep your chest broad as you bow forward here. And then bring your left fingertips to the floor or a block, right hand to your right hip. Revolve triangle pose. So left hand stays where it is. Start to lift the right shoulder to the sky and then the right arm to the sky, rotating around in this revolved triangle variation. Maybe you take that top arm and wrap it around, maybe hand to your low back, maybe hand works into the front of the left hip. Take your head back a little bit, take your gaze up, And then inhale, release. Right hand down to the ground, one leg dog. Right leg is the leg that lifts for a one leg vinyasa right here. Yeah, you're looking good. Doing with what you can with what you've got. From downward facing dog, inhale, left leg to the sky. Bend your knee and twist open. See how much length you can get through that side body. And then inhale, stretch your leg back behind, square your hips. Use your exhale to bring your knee in towards your nose, little abdominal crunch, and then plant your foot right up at the top of your mat. So left foot at the top of the mat. We'll lift to warrior one. First, by grounding through the feet, getting steady into the earth, and then inhale, lifting up into the back bend of warrior one. Couple of breaths here to enjoy that lift through the chest, that outward presentation, and then circle your arms back behind you, slowly lowering down, interlace your hands with the goofy grab, the one that's not as familiar. With a broad chest, humble warrior, it's a forward bend, so fold into it, and eventually bring the hands away from your back. First, notice where you feel the pose in your body. For me, it's that hip, because my hip's always tight. And then notice the feeling that comes up from just the shape of forward bending here. If you love it, enjoy it. If you don't love it, don't worry. We're going to a back bend. Bring your hands to your low back, and then inhale, lift your torso upright. And then start to straighten that front leg. Strong core, belly, squeeze the sides in, strong into the low back, down into the glutes a little bit. Draw the shoulders back, and then a little back bend here. Inhale, back upright. Unlace the hands, sweep the arms out wide. And up to the sky. See if those fingertips just find themselves. Yes. Exhale, hands to your heart. Broad chest, strong core, bow forward. Stay here just for another beat, bowing forward. And then we'll change the hands. Right hand to the ground, left hand to the left hip. Take a variation of Revolve triangle pose here. Start to twist to the left, draw the left shoulder to the sky, and then when you're ready, maybe left hand up to the sky, revolving around. Try to pull the outer left hip back a little bit, see if that changes the pose any for you. It intensifies it for me. And then maybe bind that left arm, left hand onto your low back, or maybe the left hand works into the right hip, front of the right hip. Rotate, twist, take your gaze up if you can. And then inhale, release. Hands down to the mat, one leg dog. Lift that left leg back and up. One leg flow here, letting your breath connect the poses. Pose and counter pose, forward bend, back bend. Some neutral poses there in the vinyasa too as well. And then when you get to your downward dog, let your head hang down. Take a big inhale, and then a long sighing exhale, letting the breath out. Look at the front of your mat. Bring your feet to the top. Fold over your legs. In fact, here, let's bend the knees a little bit and wrap the forearms back around behind the shins. So your palms are on the back of your heel, fingertips pointing towards the floor, elbows pointing back behind you, ribs connected to the tops of the thighs. When you're ready, start to straighten the legs just a little bit more. Going deeper into this forward bend, Forearms pushing into the shins, or the calves, I guess. Calves pushing back into the forearms. Deep forward bend, and then let's let it go. Release the arms, chair pose, lower the hips. Really focus on the back bend portion of this chair pose since we were just in that deep forward bend. Focus on the back bend here, and then straighten the legs. We're going for a standing back bend. You still need to be strong in the core. You don't have to be as careful as you are in that split leg stance, but still strong in the core to protect your low back. If you want more protection for your low back, place your hands there, pushing the low back in and down. Take your gaze up, open up, perspective changing. Inhale, back up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Here we go, one more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, float like a fall leaf down to the ground into your forward bend. Inhale, lengthen out. Take your vinyasa the way you like to take it here. Stepping or jumping back. You can step into downward dog. You can step into plank. You can take upward dog or cobra for the back bend part. Follow the breath until you get to or return to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg back and up behind you. Bend your knee and twist open. If you want to flip, now's the time to do it. Strong core will let you gracefully and slowly flip over into your three-pointed back bend. And when you've had enough of that back bending, back around to the forward bend of one leg dog. Again, knee to nose, right knee into the nose, and then plant that right foot right up at the top of your mat. We're going back to warrior two again. So back heel onto the ground, and then rise up. So we're going to go to half or full bound side angle pose from here. We did a half bind before. You can return to that with your back hand behind your back, maybe right forearm on the right thigh, or if the full bind is calling your name, reach that right arm underneath your leg, grab hands or strap, roll the top shoulder back, take your gaze up. In this pose, you're pretty close to the ground, you're pretty grounded, but you're twisting, rolling the top shoulder open, taking the gaze up to the sky. Try to take deep breaths here. It's hard in the bound poses. And then inhale, release your hands, come back up to warrior two, straighten your front leg, reverse triangle pose. Lean back, open up along your right side body. And then on an exhale, windmill your hands down to the mat, either side of the front foot. Lift the back heel up. So we're going to go into some side angle pose variations. So we're going to plant that left palm on the mat, but take it about an inch in front of the left shoulder, not right under it, about an inch forward. Turn all your toes to point to the right. So you're on the outer edge of the back foot, and we'll stretch that right hand to point towards the back of the mat. As you inhale, lower your left hip down towards the floor, and as you exhale, lift it away and arc that right arm across the sky and down towards the front of the mat. Two more of those. Inhale to get low. Exhale to lift up. One more time low, and one more time high. You're going to stay high here. Bring that right arm straight up to 12 o'clock on a clock face. We're going to try to stack the feet. If you're more comfortable with that right foot where it is, leave it there. Otherwise, push the floor away with your left hand and your left foot. Maybe you stack the right foot on top of the left, lifting the hips up in between. And then start to lift that right foot up about 12 inches. And then lunge your right foot to the top of your mat. Take your right arm on the inside of the right leg. Wiggle the right foot wider so that your right wrist can be underneath your right shoulder, and now left wrist underneath left shoulder. Keep the back leg strong and straight. 3 times. Inhale to bend the elbows and lower. Exhale to straighten the arms and lift. Inhale, how does it feel to go low? Exhale, how does it feel to be a little bit high? One more. Inhale down. Exhale, lift. Lower your back knee down to the ground and pat it because we're going to be on it just a little bit here. Still working on that proprioception. Bend your back knee, drawing your heel in towards your hip. Now reach forward with your right hand, stretching it forward, circling it up towards the sky and then back. Can your foot find your hand? This is our first time to do this today. You'll eventually get there, or use your strap. And then 3 times, exhale, fold in. Inhale, lift, a little twisting back bend. Push your foot into your hand, take your head back. Exhale, fold down to the ground or towards it. Inhale, lift up, twist. One more time to get low, to fold in. And then inhale one more time to lift up. Gently release your foot. Let it float to the ground like a fall leaf. And then hand back to the front of your mat. One leg dog. Lift the right leg up into the air. One leg vinyasa. This will be your last one leg vinyasa on the side if you want it. All right, we're ready for side 2. Inhale, left leg into the air. Bend your knee and twist open. It's great to stay right here in the twist. If you want to flip over, strengthen the core or tone into the core first. Yeah, you can land that foot on the floor or the bed or the couch next to you. Inhale when you're ready. Come back around. One leg dog. Knee into nose, and then plant that foot right up at the top of your mat. Yeah, you got it. Warrior 2. And then from Warrior 2, some version of a bound side angle pose. So you can do the half bind with the back arm like we did before. Or if you're feeling ready for it, full bind. Reaching your hand, left hand underneath the left thigh. So we are really close to the ground here for standing pose. See if you can turn up to the sky a little bit, drawing your right shoulder back, maybe taking your gaze up to the sky, lifting that energy some. And then on an inhale, release your hands, lift up to Warrior 2, straighten the front leg, reverse triangle pose, stretch back, open the left side body back up as you stretch. And then on an exhale, windmill your hands down to either side of the front foot, coming into lunge and then lifting the back heel up. So now we go into those side plank pose variations. Plant your right palm on the ground and make sure your wrist is about an inch forward from your shoulder. Turn all your toes to the left. So you're on the outer edge of the back foot and reach your left hand so your fingers are pointing towards the back of your mat. As you inhale, lower your outer right hip down towards the floor. And as you exhale, lift it up away, arcing your arm up over your ear. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, lift up. Strong into that right shoulder. One more time, inhale, lower. And exhale, lift. You're gonna stay lifted here. Bring your left arm straight up to 12 o'clock. And then start working your left foot back towards the back of your mat, stacking your feet on top of each other. Yes. As you inhale, lift your left leg off the right leg about 12 inches, and then plant your foot at the top of your mat as you exhale. Bring your left arm on the inside of the left leg. Work the left foot a little wider. You just want to get your wrists underneath your shoulders here for these push-up variations. 3 times. Inhale, bend the elbows, get low. Exhale, straighten the arms, lift up, maybe look forward. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. One more, go low. And then lift up. Lower your back knee to the ground. So bend that back knee, so you're using the muscles on the back of that right leg to pull your heel in towards your hip. Keep it there. As you inhale, stretch your left arm forward, lift it up into the air, and then reach it back. See if it can find your foot. You did it. And then 3 times, we're gonna bow down. Exhale, fold inside your left leg. Inhale, lift up, push your foot back. It's a twisting back bend. Draw your head back a little bit. 2 more. Lower down and lift. Yeah, 1 more time. Go low, forward bending, and then lift up, twisting and back bending. And then gently release your foot. Let it gently float down to the ground. Hands back at the front of your mat. Lift your back knee up. 1 leg dog. Lift that left leg up. Last 1 leg flow, if that's what you're taking. So we are going to meet on our bellies. Some of you already got to downward facing dog before I could get that out, but we're going to meet on our bellies, however you want to get down there now. So we're going to take a back bend from the floor. This is called Dhanurasana or bow pose. Some people call it floor bow. So bend both knees. This will be our biggest back bend of the practice. So you've got those feet up into the air. And then again, put your girdle on. Squeeze the core muscles in towards the center to protect your low back. Reach back with your hands or straps. Grab onto your feet or ankles. Still with the core engaged, lift the fronts of the shoulders away from the mat and take your gaze forward. You're already in a back bend here, and then we're going to bow up away from the floor. On an exhale, press your feet to the sky. Soles of the feet to the sky, toes pointing back behind you. So you're getting the best of both worlds here. You're getting that grounding of the front body or part of the front body on the earth. And then you're getting that beautiful lift of energy up. 1 more inhale, and then exhale, lower down to your mat. We'll take Crocodile Pose here, where you bring your palms down or 1 palm to the mat, stack the other on top, flare the elbows out to the sides, rest your forehead on the top hand. Maybe take your legs a little wider. Full grounding on the earth of the front body. All right, friends, downward facing dog. Bring your right leg into pigeon prep. So for downward dog, that means you bring your right knee behind and a little bit wider than your right wrist. And then just have to play around to find how you want to place your right shin and foot. For most of us, it's more intense to have that right shin parallel to the front of the mat, less intense to angle it back. You want to just place it in a position where you're getting the stretching you need in your outer hip, but no pain in your ankle, your knee. And then start to get lower. Maybe that means coming onto elbows or elbows on blocks. Maybe that means walking your arms out and putting your forehead on the mat. If you're stretched out, if your arms are stretched out with your forehead on the mat, prop back up onto your elbows. I'm going to do a little outer shoulder stretch here. So with your forearms parallel to one another, walk your right arm a little bit farther out and take your left hand behind the right elbow and then point your right fingers over to the left. So you've got your right forearm closer to the front of your mat than your left. Now you're going to start inching your fingers out to the side. So left fingers go to the right, right fingers go to the left. Hook your chin in front of that right upper arm. So we'll start here with palms down for a couple of breaths. And then keeping this position, just rotate palms up and see if that changes anything in the shoulder stretch for you. Lift your head up, start to walk those elbows back in, and then walk your hands back. Hike the belly in, and now back bending. After that forward bend, lift your chest up. If you want a little something extra, you can add in the quad stretch too while you're back bending. And then let's go back to downward facing dog. Second side, bring your left leg forward for pigeon prep. Find your positioning of that front leg, and then once you feel good there, start to lower the elbows down. Or maybe walk the arms out and lower your forehead to the mat. Your arms are stretched out, start to walk them back in, and we'll do that crisscross applesauce with the arms. So we'll have the left forearm parallel to the front edge of the mat, closer to the front edge of the mat, and then the right forearm behind it. So you've got your left fingers pointing right, right fingers pointing left, and now you start to walk the hands out to the sides. Eventually, you'll come to a stopping point, and then hook your chin in front of that left upper arm. See if you can lengthen the back of your neck here. We'll start with palms down for a couple of breaths. And then turn your palms up. See if that changes the stretch in your outer shoulders. And then start to walk those elbows back in. And we'll lift up into our back bend in this easy pigeon position. Walk your hands back, lift your chest up. Maybe lift your gaze up. If you need it, if you want it, bend that back knee, reach back with your right hand or strap and grab it. Add that into the mix here. And then exhale, gently release the foot down. Let's sit over onto the left hip. Swing the right leg around in front. So we'll end up with both feet down onto the mat. Hands around the fronts of your knees. And then as you exhale, roll on down to your back. Hug your knees into your chest. Rock across your back. Put your left foot down on the ground and cross the right ankle above the left knee. See if you can arch your low back up away from the floor here. So think about the bottom of your pelvis pointing down and the top of your pelvis pointing up. Rotating just a little bit here. It's just a tiny bit of a back bend. And then you can relax that. Hug your left thigh in towards your chest. Put the left foot back on the ground, still keeping the legs in this reclining pigeon shape. Let your legs drift over to the left so the right foot comes down to the ground. Maybe even reach down with your left hand and grab around the front of that right ankle. And then reach your right arm back out to the right. Inhale, bring your legs up and we'll change sides. Right foot plants on the earth, left ankle crosses over for reclining pigeon, and then pull your right thigh in towards your chest. Right foot back on the ground. I forgot that tiny back bend in this reclining pigeon shape. So again, think about the bottom of your pelvis going down towards the floor, the top lifting up. If that's confusing, think about lifting your back waistline up away from the floor. You might even be able to put a hand or two underneath your back there. And then let that relax. Let your legs drift over to the right. So the sole of your left foot comes down to the ground. You might even reach down with your right hand and wrap your fingers around the front of your left ankle. Stretch your left arm back out to the left. And then as you inhale, bring your legs back up. Uncross one more time, hug your knees in, rock over your back. If you need some other finishing poses, you'll take those. And then when you're ready, stretch out for corpse pose, Shavasana. So we've made it all the way from child's pose to corpse pose. Autumn is a second spring when every leaf is a flower. As you work your way into a corpse pose where you feel totally relaxed, totally at peace in your body, close your eyes and see the flowers. See the leaves as flowers, see the situation that you're in. and see the gift that's there. Take a big inhale through your nose, and then a long, slow exhale through your mouth, and let everything melt as you exhale. Let the muscles soften. Let your jaw relax, your tongue relax. Let your eyes softly close. Let your belly float with your breath. Take another moment here with your eyes closed to see the flowers in your fall, to see the gift in whatever's happening. And then begin to wake your body back up gently, deeper breaths. And then little movements in your hands and your feet. Stretch your arms above your head, lengthen your body. We're going to come up to a seat. You can either come right up if that feels right for you, or roll over to your side. And then from your side, draw yourself up to a seat. Once you find your seat, close your eyes again and join your hands together at your heart, and notice if with your eyes closed, those fingers just find each other. I hope as you go through your day and as we all enter fall together that we're able to see the blessings in the season, in the situation. Let's join our energy together and send it to those who need blessings, those who need our energy. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.